Welcome to Transform Now, a podcast focused on intelligent automation and brought to you by SS&C Blue Prism. On this program, we talk about how organizations globally are rethinking the way they operate, utilizing process orchestration and AI-enabled digital workers to free up humans to do the work that matters most. We also share insights and tips on how you can embrace this new way of working and unleash your full potential. Let's get into the show.
Hello everyone, Brad Hairston here. Welcome to Transform Now. It's our weekly pulse check, taking a look at the news, finding an article or two that caught our attention. And Michael, I can't wait to jump into these three. I've got three pretty interesting news items.
I tend to agree.
The first one is from the Financial Times. It's from an author named Ethan Mollick. He's actually a professor at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Pretty interesting guy. I follow him on LinkedIn. He's very much an authority on the Gen AI topic. And the article is titled, AI is already changing management. Companies must decide how. And he makes some really good points here. He's talking about the fact that most employees are already using Gen AI. They haven't waited for permission from the employers. They're, in some cases, somewhat sheepish about what they're doing. They're afraid they're going to get in trouble or that managers might take affront that they're starting to use it the way they are. And so he basically, this article, from my summarization, he's saying work is already changing and you as employers need to figure out how you're going to respond, and you need to help your employees figure out what the meaning of work is, which is a pretty heavy philosophical, thing to do. But I think his point is, if they don't do that, they're going to have organizational chaos, because now people have a lot more time on their hands. They don't know really what their roles are, what their value is to the company. And I think he's putting the onus back on the employers to say, look, you ought to get on the ball here and figure out how to react and what your role is going to be. So what do you think about it, Michael? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, you summarize it pretty well in terms of some of the things that he was mentioning. I guess one of the parts that I would kind of hone in on is the fact that while employees may be kind of sheepishly using, Gen AI to help with support different things, Copilot is certainly one thing that, Microsoft has definitely put on everybody's, desktop now, and they're very excited for us to use. So we're getting the power delivered to us in a very straightforward, easy way. I guess the bigger challenge we're going to have is when we're having these employees do this work, are we encouraging them to be able to leverage these tools and think about what they're doing to be able to complete their tasks or to be able to add value? And if we are the managers leveraging the same types of tools that have been trained on, no doubt, boatloads of McKinsey, Bain, and BCG documentations that are out there in the wild about management consulting? Are they also leveraging the same tools to help support their behaviors and their growth as managers within the organization? So there's I think a certain fear that the people, the employees are doing this work, are going to get caught or maybe feel like they shouldn't be using AI to do their work. But in fact, they're being more productive. But are the managers encouraging that? And are they also leveraging the same tools to become better managers as they see their people leveraging these same tools?
Yeah. Great points. I agree. It's a fascinating article and very future of work kind of oriented. What is the workplace going to look like when all these tools really start to come into everything we're doing, day in, day out? Speaking of the future of work, our next article is titled, and it comes from Forbes, Why Side Hustles and Portfolio Careers Are the Future of Work. Now, Michael, I thought of you when I read this, because you always have your finger. You always have your finger on the pulse of organizational, management, design, change management. You're always thinking about that and how companies adopt emerging tech like automation and AI. And this article, is really just talking about the rise of the gig and the creator economies that has really, really, risen to an all new high. I don't know about you. I know a lot of people that are doing side jobs, side gigs, side hustles. I got to get the terminology right. And that seems to be something that has been definitely exacerbated since the pandemic, since work from home has emerged. I'm honestly surprised that most employers seem to be agreeing to it and not, because it used to be you could not do anything but your salary job. And if you did anything else that brought income, that was a major no-no. Now today, it seems like many employers are allowing that. And I, suppose it's because they figure they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to be more flexible to hold on to some of these people. So what did you think about it?
Well, I had several thoughts. The concept of a side hustle, I think, has evolved a bit from people doing like TaskRabbit type of things, driving Uber on the weekend, that sort of thing, where they're making a few extra bucks on the side, to understand how they can leverage their knowledge and expertise to maybe broaden their exposure and maybe gather new ways of working with what the experience they already have. So taking this two different ways, because I think this is important to kind of differentiate. One way is going down sort of the YouTube creator. You talk about that side hustle. I want to be a creator and a creator mentality. You're building out content for others to be able to absorb and understand with your own particular opinion or influence on that. That's one way of looking at the sort of a side hustle and the income that's produced from the ad revenue from YouTube, et cetera, would be one angle of being able to capture that. The other angle of it, I think, is a little bit more interesting in my perspective, and that is taking the concept of, as I'm building this concept of what I'm understanding from my own experiences at work, how am I developing ideas that could be leveraged as not just a side hustle, but potentially something new that I could offer either through the organization I currently am employed by, or take out on my own. So I'm understanding AI, I'm understanding the business that I'm in, maybe I'm in insurance or something like that. And I'm looking at this new way of processing claims or like that. And I come up with a unique or novel idea to be able to apply that knowledge in a way that helps me be more efficient at work. But I can see a next step where this can make me more efficient, globally, make a lot of people really more efficient if I just hone it down. Taking that side hustle, which may have started inside the company, and then bringing it out to something maybe a full time. So that's one of the aspects that he mentioned. And I have to point out this part of the article because I thought it was kind of funny. They used an example of a person who had been part of an organization, and during his tenure at this company, he was making $600,000 a year as a software engineer, and then he transitioned out to be able to make $1 million as a creator in the creator economy. And I don't know about you, but 600 grand is a really good salary. And so I'm not sure he felt that pressure necessarily to go out and be a creator at this point. But that's one of the examples they use as someone who's transitioned from one to the next. But
it's a non-example to cite in the article for sure.
It really is. It really is. But where I was going with the last part was that rather than taking it from a creator perspective, they're talking about a portfolio career, meaning I'm going to work for a company for X amount of time and gather sort of experience from them, provide my expertise back to them for some period of time, and then move on, getting additional experience as I go so that I can leverage that experience for either a higher salary or additional types of work, maybe creating content on the side for YouTube, in addition to some of the work you do because of your expertise. And that this is going to become, they say, more prevalent as we go. Now, you and I both know, especially here in America, we are employed at will. So if our company decides we are redundant for whatever the reason, sales are down, whatever's happened in our particular economy, we can lose our job tomorrow. Now, that's not the case in all the world, but here in the Americas, we kind of understand that we are employed and it's a tenuous relationship. So this sort of flips it on the head with the employee now saying, well, it's going to be a tenuous relationship between me and my employer in a different way, that I now hold all the cards saying, if I'm going to choose to provide you with my expertise, I'll do that at my own will for some period of time until I move on to do something else. While we've always had that capability, I think there's a much stronger pull toward it now, because the expertise and that knowledge that is being gathered by our employees, it becomes much more valuable to the employer and the activities that they're doing. So it's an interesting paradigm shift that they're trying to talk about here. So I really recommend this article for folks to read in.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the article is written by a HR executive who's been a HR leader in many different companies. And I think one of the strongest points he makes is it's really hard today to win the war for talent, because you're not just trying to convince them that your company is a great place for them to be. You got to convince them that it's a better place than working for themselves in this gig and side hustle economy that we're in. So it's a bigger challenge than it has been, for sure. Well, our final article comes from Wired, and it is titled, "It's Time to Believe the Hype," or the AI Hype. It's time to believe the AI hype. Now, this article is from Stephen Levy. He's a great author. I've read many of his articles in the past, and he's responding to the big announcements a couple weeks ago from OpenAI and Google about their latest enhancements and the multimodal functionality that they're now bringing into their Gen AI platforms. And he's really, I think the essence of the article is combating some of the negative press that has been out there in the last, say, 3 to 6 months. People that are now starting to say, well, the Gen AI thing, it was a little bit it was all fluff. It's not delivering as promised. The progression of the technology is not as fast as we all envision. And according to this author, who went through this, he saw the same thing happen with the internet, with many of the things mobile, a lot of the other, revolutions we've had. So he's, I think, kind of defending AI, and he's telling his colleagues that write like him, don't put close the door on Gen AI. It's really still just, beginning, and the evolution is going to be faster than we've ever imagined. So, what did you think about this article?
Yeah, I agree with his viewpoint on a couple of different things. Certainly, some of the naysayers, if you will, who are going about this and kind of throwing shade on the whole idea that, well, it's just another model. It's a refinement of the last one. Maybe it does a few things better, but it still can't do X, right? And he completes this article, and I'll read the last sentence because I think it's a very appropriate way to reviewing this. But AI and the models that we have currently, going from GPT-3 to the whole myriad of models we have now from a bunch of different companies, are major advancements that, as much as we like to be able to think that, we are expecting this, and we're so expectant about technology changes, we have to kind of appreciate what they are during that time, because our attention spans are 3 seconds, right? We're done.
Right.
We can't be impressed anymore. Because the ideas are, well, that's not that impressive at this point, because that's so last year.
Yeah.
But the reality is that these transformations that they're making with these additive models and iterative models continue to grow and to provide additional benefits that they just couldn't do before. And the way this article ends up, he says, like the story where someone takes a friend to a comedy club to see a talking dog. A canine comic does a short set with perfect diction, but the friend says, it was all right. The joke's bombed. So it had nothing to do with the fact that it was amazing to see the talking dogs. They were concerned about the jokes and the fact that they told poor jokes.
Yeah.
So this gets back to the AI stuff. It's all right, but it still can't pass the bar exam in the top 90% of taking it. It'll pass in the 48th percentile, but not the 90th percentile.
Yeah.
Like that's not impressive enough.
Yeah. I think he's spot on, like you did. And, I got off a call today, an internal call, where we were talking about all the the variety of use cases that our customers are bringing to us for Gen AI, combined with digital workers. And it seems like every day I hear 5, 6, 7 new examples. So our customers are getting it, and they see the potential. They see how this can really take automation to the next level. And none of that's a pipe dream. And many of the use cases they're bringing forward are really good. They're very pertinent to what generative AI and the whole natural language capability can bring to the table. So I'm very enthusiastic. I'm not losing any positivity at all around Gen AI. I think it's going to continue to be the future of work for every industry under the sun. And Michael, thank you for being here. It's been fun talking through 3 more items with you, and
Love
we'll
doing
put the
these.
links to all 3 of these articles in the show notes. And remember, we have a great podcast we publish every week in addition to this one that has a guest. So be sure and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for being here, and bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Transform Now, the podcast from SS&C Blue Prism. You can find all of our episodes on your favorite podcast channel, as well as YouTube. To stay on top of the hottest topics in the world of intelligent automation, subscribe now. The future of work is here.